Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblyman Carter.
Present.
Assemblyman DeLong.
Present.
Assemblyman De Silva.
Here.
Assemblywoman Duran. Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Assemblyman Gurr. Assemblyman Hibbets. Assemblyman Koenig. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblyman Nguyen. Assemblywoman Taylor. Assemblywoman Thomas. Chair Torres.
Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. Welcome to those of you joining us here in Carson City, as well as those joining us in Las Vegas and over the internet. Just a couple housekeeping items for the committee members and the audience. Please remember to silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. For those joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you are not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name, spell your name, and affiliation, if any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. Handouts should have already been submitted to the committee secretary. If you haven't, please turn those in. 20 hard copies for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to the committee manager by noon yesterday for members of the committee. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with another person's position. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Today, we will have one presentation from the State Treasurer's Office, followed by two committee bills, or two bills from the Treasurer's Office. I know that we're going to have a lot of good vibes this hearing, so I'm looking forward to the presentation from Treasurer Zach Conine.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Zach Conine. I have the pleasure of being the Nevada State Treasurer. We're happy to be here today to give a brief overview as to the work of the State Treasury and deliver what we always do, fantastic returns and good vibes. Moving on to slide number 1, the State Treasurer's statutory responsibilities. We are the chair, president, administrator, and member of a number of things, which I'm happy to answer questions about, but don't feel the need to read through unless anyone else does. Our functional areas of the office include 6 departments: our operation division, our cash management division, our investment management division, debt, college savings program division, and unclaimed property. The operational division oversees the day-to-day operations for the Treasury, including fiscal functions for 22 budget accounts, the submittal of the biennium budget request for 9 budget accounts and programs, human resources, IT operations, travel management, contract and purchasing management. We're also responsible for the accounting and distribution of funds relating to the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement. In fiscal year of 22, the state received approximately $44 million in Master Settlement Agreement proceeds. Cash management oversees state banking and accounting, including the receipt and disbursement of all public money. Any money that comes into the state, either from taxpayers or from the federal government, vis-a-vis taxpayers, comes in to us. Any money that goes out of the state comes in or goes out from us. So if you've ever opened a business and gotten a business license, thank you. That money went to me. If you went in and registered your car again at the DMV, thank you. That money went to us. We manage all main depository and control disbursement accounts, efficiently combining cash balances while minimizing non-invested balances, right? So our work is to make sure we get the money in and invest it in between the time we get it and the time we spend it. We'll talk a little bit about that in the future. And we're responsible for the allocation of revenues from the lease of federal lands here in Nevada. We oversee merchant services for all state agencies, including the responsibility for managing the state's main banking relationship. And we manage the electronic payment program and 380 merchant accounts for 58 state agencies and executive branch boards. We do about 130,000 checks a year, millions of transactions, billions of dollars worth of value. Our investment division. So in between the time that the money comes into the state and the money goes out of the state, we invest. We have fiduciary responsibility, including investment managers and oversight for the following portfolios. The general portfolio, which is currently around $9.3 billion, as a point. That's as of today. When I became treasurer in January of 2019, it was about $2.8 billion. Local government investment pool of about $2.2 $1.0 billion. That is a pool in which local governments, specifically smaller ones, so basically anybody except Clark and Washoe, can give their money to the state and invest it in the local government investment pool. We invest it for them at scale, and they have access to both liquidity and highly compensated and, well, not that highly compensated, but compensated investment managers, highly professional investment managers who make sure that their money is safe and grows. The Permanent School Fund, which functions as the endowment account for K through 12 education at $444 million. Prepaid tuition, which is the account that Nevadans have prepaid into for their college. We'll talk a little bit more about that in college savings at $370 million. Envest, which is sort of a longer duration LGIP at $51 million. And of course, the state's pooled collateral program of about $1.6 billion. Debt management. So not only do we invest the state's money, but per NRS 226-110, state treasurer is directly responsible for the issuance of any debt obligation authorized on behalf of and in the name of the state, except for issuances by the Colorado River Commission, the University of Nevada System of Higher Education, and the Department of Business and Industry, which issue various types of debt under a range of levels of autonomy. Subsection 11 allows the state treasurer to organize and facilitate statewide pooled financing programs, including lease purchases for the benefit of the state and any political subdivisions. And this slide simply takes you through a little bit about the bond sales that we did in FY22. I'll also mention that part of being responsible for the bond sales is being responsible for the state's credit rating, which is currently at its highest rating in state history at one level under prime. So that's great. When our credit rating, of course, is higher, it works just like your own credit score being higher. A higher score allows you to both borrow more and pay less for the privilege of borrowing. And I will also point out just briefly, if you look at on the last slide, you'll see capital improvement, historic preservation, refunding bonds, and the rest. TIC, which is the second column from the right, stands for total interest costs. That's what we paid. So we borrowed in that term $118 million for 1.87% over 20 years, which is pretty good in case anyone's done this. College Savings Division. Our College Savings Division helps Nevadans plan for, save for, and pay for college and higher education. That includes our Nevada Prepaid Tuition Program, which is a defined benefit program, allowing you to pay today's rates for future college. We have 11,369 active accounts as of right now. Nevada's 529 savings accounts, so 529s function kind of like 401ks, but for college. So money put into a 529 account, if it's used for a qualified educational expense, the interest earnings on that account are not taxable. We have 1 million accounts nationwide and about 34 billion under management. Last we looked, Nevada was about 37th in population, but either third or second in the number of college savings accounts and dollars in the state. Unfortunately, that's not because Nevadans are more prepared for college. It's because our programs are so good that people come from other states to invest with us. And of course, the Governor Gwynn Millennium Scholarship, which provides up to $10,000 in tuition for Nevada's best and brightest. 159,789 Nevadans have utilized the program to date, and as I'm responsible for mentioning, that program is insolvent and requires dollars every year to keep going. The College Savings Division also includes College Kickstart. That's a $50 scholarship account created for every public school kindergartner in Nevada, 344,832 established accounts, making it the largest program of its type in the world. Our student loan ombudsperson, started 2 sessions ago, provides case management for student loan borrowers and education programming on student loans, and our scholarship database, which is a comprehensive listing of scholarship and grant programs available to Nevadans attending or seeking higher education. Our College Savings Division is also responsible for our ABLE savings programs. ABLE is a federal program, which stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and it allows individuals with disabilities to save and earn money without threatening the loss of state and federal benefits like Medicaid, Social Security supplemental income, or Social Security disability insurance. The state treasury oversees the administration of Nevada and nationwide accounts, marketing of the program, and coordinating with our program manager. As of December 31st, 2022, there are 3,173 ABLE accounts in the state, which represents a growth of more than 1,200% since 2019 when we took over the program. Moving on to the fun party trick of the state treasury, the unclaimed property division. Unclaimed property has three main functions. One, claims, responsible for receiving, reviewing, and approving or denying submitted claims. We also process, hold, and auction physical property held in safety deposit boxes. And for anyone unfamiliar with unclaimed property, the general idea here is that if you're a business and you have paid someone and that someone has not cashed the check, so for instance, a payroll check that's gone to an employee who hasn't cashed it, a rebate check, or even a business-to-business payment, eventually that outstanding accounts payable gets turned over to the state, where we hold it in perpetuity in trust for the recipient. The intention there is that while, say, a business might not exist forever, the state of Nevada hopefully will, and we'll be able to return that money down the road. Holders, which are the businesses in this context, are responsible for receiving. We are responsible for receiving and processing reports and payments that are submitted as unclaimed property. We are currently safeguarding more than $1 billion in assets held, as I said, in perpetuity. We also have our audit division. Our audit works with businesses to make sure that businesses are in compliance with the unclaimed property statutes. Fun fact, every business in the state of Nevada is required to submit an unclaimed property report every year, even if that report is a zero report. And so we work with businesses to make sure that all that money gets into state hands so that that money can then get back into the hands of Nevadans. So far, we have received in fiscal year 22, $83 million from holders. We have returned about $42 million. Since I've been treasurer, we've returned $188 million, which is the most returned by any single treasurer in a 4-year term by a lot. Couple of other Treasury initiatives, because sometimes we are outside of our sandbox just a little bit. And so I wanted to talk about some of those. They fall into two categories. One, just stuff we're trying to do to make the state a little bit better. And two, some of the pandemic era aid programs that we helped administer. On the Making the State Better side, we've revised and repurposed the Nevada State Infrastructure Bank, originally created in 2017 as a vehicle for transportation projects. It was reimagined in 2021 as a vehicle for both economic development, housing, education, and other functions. The Infrastructure Bank broadly has taken $75 million in state money, and it uses that money created through general obligation bonds in order to partner with private industries and philanthropic organizations to bring more money into the state, right? And our goal there is to get a multiple to do things like building more affordable housing. We took a leadership role in the American Rescue Plan Act, including the creation of the Every Nevada Recovery Framework, and then, of course, the Nevada Recovers Listening Tour, which many of you joined us on in our 123 events over 82 days. And, of course, we are continuing to work on capturing the $500 million in annual federal funds that Nevada misses out on. In the pandemic, we helped with a few programs. We administered, along with GoEd, the Pandemic Emergency Technical Support, or PETS grants, which provided $102 million to small business, largest program in the state of its type in history, run by 4 people in a spreadsheet. The Commercial Rental Assistance Grant Program, $10 million to go towards local landlords who were struggling with their commercial tenants. The Coronavirus Housing Assistance Program was conceived out of our office and then ably managed by the Nevada Housing Division, the Reno Housing Authority, the Rural Housing Authority, and in Clark County, which brought about $400 million in assistance to both homeowners and landlords. And of course, our Transforming Opportunities for Toddlers and Students, or TOTS program, which brought $12 million to individuals with disabilities, the largest program of its type in the history of the country. And at this point, I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, we did run your unclaimed property, and I'm happy to talk through that as well.
Thank you, Treasurer Conine, and thank you for your attention to our unclaimed property. Members, any questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with Assemblywoman Thomas, then Assemblyman Nguyen, then Assemblyman Taylor, and then Assemblyman Gonzalez.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate this presentation because we're talking about money that I possibly have in a savings account with the state. So my first question probably would be whether or not this money gains interest. And I want to say thank you for the positive vibes that you bring to this whole committee today, for the reason that, you know, we're talking about money that we possibly can have in a savings account at the state.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, thanks for the question. Happy to deliver the vibes. Those were free, but everything else costs money. And the good thing is, we've got quite a bit of it. So we've got about $9.3 billion in the general portfolio, a record for the state of Nevada. That money generates about $33,000 or $34,000 an hour in interest. And that interest comes from relatively risk-free or certainly low-risk investments. So most of our investments are in things like treasuries and agencies, right? So these are the federal government who is raising money. We are buying that paper. They are then paying us interest for that paper. What's typically called a coupon or yield, kind of the interest rate on that. We're also investing in agencies, so Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, right? So federal agencies that are issuing bonds, we're purchasing those bonds and getting paid interest for it. We also invest sometimes in corporate notes, commercial paper, which are effectively just different durations, but companies that are highly credit rated who are borrowing money for a period of time, we might invest in that. And our office has really shifted the way we think about this over the last couple of years. So when I became treasurer, most of the work was sort of an accounting process, right? It was, we have a bill to pay on Thursday, we'll invest in whatever, and we'll make sure that we can pay that bill on Thursday. Well, we still do that, because in the Treasury, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the AB 33 presentation, our first responsibility is to not lose money. Our second responsibility is to not lose money. Our third responsibility is liquidity, and then far, far down on the responsibility level is making money. But when we do make money, that money goes back to the agencies who have budget authority from you all, and it allows us to do other things, right? In a given year, depending on the markets and the rest, we could distribute around $100 million back to agencies, and that, of course, allows them to do other things. And so that's what we do with a relatively small team, I should mention.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, follow up, please.
Yes, quickly.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Just to follow up, the investment companies, you mentioned Fannie and Sallie Mae. Are there any other, can you share that with the committee? Thank you.
Treasurer Conine, for the record. So Fannie, Sally, Ginnie, et cetera, agency paper is one of the things that we buy, but they do not invest the money for us, right? They've got a government function. We manage a majority of the assets of the 9.3. We manage more than 8 billion of that internally, and we have two outside managers who help us both with relatively small portfolios as a percentage of the total, and they do things that are a little bit more complex. So collateralized debt obligations, mortgage-backed securities, things where you want a really big team in order to make sure that you're on the right side of the trade.
Thank you. Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Treasurer, I just want to start by saying thank you for your work in the community. I think your work as treasurer in the last 4 years has made the office more visible in all the years I've been in Nevada. So thank you for that. And thank you for your outreach to the AAPI community. I want to make sure that I love the numbers. Thank you for all these amazing stats. But one thing that I just want to get clarity on is the college savings division. I see the stats. I just wonder if you know on the top of your head. If you don't, it's fine. We can get those numbers later. On the quantity of cases that you handle for student loan borrowers and folks who have questions about student loans.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, we can follow up with the exact number, but I think what we're finding with the student loan ombudsperson is they're both handling individual cases, but they're also able to do advocacy work for Nevadans writ large, right? So the first time that our fantastic student loan ombudsman was able to work with a teacher to help them remove about $112,000 worth of student loan debt, that opened up some problems with the process, which now she is advocating for on the national level and the Department of Education to try and get that fixed and make sure that the process gets easier for other ones. So it's both that direct constituency work, but also sort of broader advocacy work.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for that. That was a very good report. I'll concur with my colleague, Assemblyman Nguyen, that it's much more. Your office is much more visible and seems much more citizen oriented in some of these things that you do. So thank you for that. A couple of quick questions. One is, you mentioned that people come from other states to invest in our 5 29 college savings account. I'm wondering what that looks like. Or why, do they just like our vibe? Why do they do that?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, we and our partners are just really good.
So they just like our vibe.
Yeah, they like our vibe and our returns. When Nevada was one of the first off the blocks when it came to 529 plans, and so we have relationships with some of the larger investment managers, and some of those investment managers have their own pipeline. So, for instance, if you have a 529 with Vanguard, which is one of the largest investment companies in the world, that 529 lives in Nevada. And we are paid for the privilege to do that. It's, I think, important to mention all of the work of our college savings division is paid for by fees that are generated because we have other people from other states investing in Nevada. The Treasury, I suppose I should mention, is one of the few agencies that makes money.
Thank you very much. May I ask my second question, Chair, or should I move on? Okay, another quickly. You mentioned the scholarship database, which is fantastic that you do that. I had never heard of that before. How do you get the word out about that?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, we've mostly been telling people about it in Assembly GA committees, so we're looking to spread that out a little bit more. But no, the scholarship database came about in 2019. It was a bipartisan bill originally proposed by Assemblywoman Tolles, and that bill, for the first time, took not just scholarships available at the NSHE institutions, but scholarships at the NSHE institutions, private scholarships, public scholarships, and we were able to put them all into one place. And what we found is that there are so many dollars out there for college, whatever type of college, whether it's a four-year program, a two-year program, career and technical, there are dollars out there to help Nevadans do it. But a lot of times those dollars are for a very specific subset, right? A fella who is in his 40s who maybe didn't get picked first at dodgeball and is still thinking about it. But there might be dollars for that specific person if we can connect them with that work. So we appreciate certainly any work that can be done by this committee or by individuals helping to spread that out to their constituents because we think it's a valuable resource.
Thank you very much, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. It seems that the Treasurer's office is just vibes today. Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Treasurer Conine, for your excellent presentation. I also have to echo my colleague sentiments here. You brought a great deal of presence and a great deal of focus, really, on the Office of the Treasurer. So thank you for that. It's nothing but a good thing for Nevada. My question is this: there is, I think, a popular sort of conception out there that it's been difficult for the state of Nevada to kind of like go out there and pursue some of the federal funding that we are due as a state. So I just wanted to ask you that question. See, is this a real thing? Is it difficult working sometimes in securing those federal funds, or is this a misconception that has to be addressed? And what's your take as the Treasurer of Nevada on this particular topic? Thank you.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, and thanks for the question. I will say, before I continue, one of the reasons why our office has been so visible over the last couple of years is because of how fantastic our team is. I'm joined at the dais, of course, by Eric Jimenez, our Chief Policy Deputy, but every single one of the people who works for the Treasury is a dedicated public servant who has really been comfortable and willing to pivot to be a little bit more constituent facing. So to answer your question, how much time you got? So the state of Nevada historically has been not positioned well to receive federal funds, and it's for a series of reasons, right? Some is simply the size of our government, as you heard from Governor Lombardo in the State of the State, and you've heard from Governors time writ large. We have a very small state government, and oftentimes to get federal funds, you have to do something. You have to apply for them. You have to create a new report. You have to do new work. And oftentimes we don't have the staff to do that. A study a couple of years back, and I assume we'll get a newer one this year, put about the number at around $500 million a year, right? A year that the state of Nevada doesn't get for federal funds that we could apply for. Now, some of those federal funds are competitive, right? Which means that if we go for them, maybe we would or maybe we wouldn't get them. But that number is just to bring up the amount of funding we get per capita to a median level, right? So if we were right in the middle of states, we'd be there. Here's the thing. Nevada is not right in the middle of the states. Most federal funding, most funding of this nature is based on need. It's based on the number of kids who are living under the poverty level. It's based on the number of people who are housing insecure. It's based on the number of people who need help. Nevada is not in the middle of that population. We're towards the top of that population, unfortunately. And so the amount of money we're leaving on the table is even larger than that. The work that we can do, I think, is manyfold. We made some progress in that direction through Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno's bill during the last session, AB 445, which did a couple of things. One, it moved the grants office out as a subset of administration into a cabinet level position, which we thought was important. Regardless of who the governor is, grants are going to be an important piece of what we do. Number two, it created the Council on Council on Federal Assistance, which is a board that can meet and get together and work on grants, things that we sit on. There's a lot of different names in this world, so I apologize for not pulling the name directly. It is in your presentation, though. And then the last thing we can do is we can work to remove some of the systemic barriers to applying for grants. In the state of Nevada, there are a number of disincentives for agency heads and for agencies to apply for grants, not least of which being that if an agency is successful in securing a grant, they then have that money removed from their budget going forward because the federal government is paying for it, right? So they do a whole bunch of work, and then if they're successful, they're exactly where they were. That's not a great incentive, I think, for anyone who's worked in the private sector for people to do good work. So there's a lot of pieces to that. I'm encouraged that that work continues, led by Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, by some people in the private sector, by the governor's office, and our office, as always, will look for more ways to get money into the state because we know that more money into the state from the federal government, which, by the by, I'd remind everyone, is your money. It's just going to places like Kentucky, which are just fine, but I'm not their treasurer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Assemblyman Koenig.
I don't have a question, but I just want to congratulate you, Treasurer Conine, for being the only person in the building that speaks faster than Chairwoman Torres.
Treasurer Conine, it's a vibes thing.
Relatable. All right. Thank you. Committee members, any additional questions or comments? All right. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open the hearing on AB 28. This measure will establish the Nevada Baby Bonds Program. Our sponsor is the Treasurer's Office. So Treasurer Conine, when you're ready. Good vibes.
Good morning, Chairwoman and members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. For the record, again, I am Zach Conine. I have the pleasure still as serving as your state treasurer. It's great to be here to present Assembly Bill 28. The treasurer's primary role is serving as the state's chief investment officer. Over the last 4 years, our office has been focused on how we can work to invest in programs and services that increase the quality of life for working families across Nevada. Broadly, Assembly Bill 28 represents the largest proposed investment in helping to combat generational poverty in our state's history. By establishing a baby bonds program, similar to what's being done in other states like Connecticut, California, and Washington, we can start to change the way we think about investing in programs that are designed to promote economic mobility. Nevada currently ranks 19th in the nation for the worst rate of childhood poverty. We also currently have 340,000 children covered by Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. It's important to note that while vital programs like Medicaid, unemployment insurance, temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF, SNAP, WIC, and others help to provide a social safety net for people when they need help, these programs also have a massive upfront and ongoing cost to our state budget. These costs only continue to increase as people move from childhood to adulthood, unable to escape the cycle of generational poverty. According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Kaiser Family Foundation, the amount spent on children covered by Medicaid in Nevada is $2,108 a year. And as these children typically remain on Medicaid until they reach adulthood, that number increases significantly to $4,097 per person per year. For each person that is unable to move out of the Medicaid program in their lifetime, we can expect to pay $192,559 on health care costs alone per person from the age of 18 to 65. We see similar investments through food assistance that is provided to low-income households through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. In Nevada, 249,000 people receive SNAP benefits every month. These benefits cost an average of $45 million a month, or $540 million a year. To put it simply, it costs way too much money to deal with the prolonged effects of generational poverty on our state. That's why finding ways to address it isn't just the right thing to do, it's the fiscally responsible thing to do. Moreover, it's the only way we can continue to keep our taxes low while preserving the integrity of our state's budget. In a 2018 study, researchers from the University of Washington qualified the cost of childhood poverty in the United States as $970 billion annually, or 5.4% of our domestic product at the time. Through increased healthcare costs, reduced economic productivity, increased costs to address homelessness, and increased rates of crime. Similarly, these results found that for every dollar that was spent on reducing generational poverty, we can save nearly $7 with respect to the overall economic costs of poverty. We are good in our investment division, but we are not 7-to-1 good. This is. That's what this bill is. A baby bond is a modest investment in low-income children from communities across our state who need a boost to put themselves on the path to higher education, home ownership, and entrepreneurship. From the time a baby bond is created, this modest investment can grow over time, providing new adults with access to the financial tools they need to grow and thrive. Now, I recognize that 18-year-olds sometimes don't make the best financial decisions. We have a student loan ombudsperson for a reason. But that's why we've worked to ensure that there are adequate guardrails in place in this bill to ensure that dollars go to the right people and that funds can only be used for things we know can move the needle on reducing generational poverty. As I mentioned before, this is one of the largest economic ideas being proposed in our state. We think we've structured it in a way that helps the greatest number of people with the lowest fiscal impact to Nevada taxpayers. Over the next 100 days or so, I'm hopeful we can work together to find ways together to save our state money and lift thousands of people out of poverty. And with that, Madam Chair, if you're amenable, I'm happy to walk through the various sections of the bill.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Perfect. Sections 2 through 7 of the bill are definitional sections. Section 8 establishes the Nevada Baby Bonds program and houses it within the state treasurer's office. Section 8 also establishes the Nevada Baby Bonds Trust Fund and expressly states that money contained within the trust fund must be preserved, invested, and expended solely for providing baby bond investments for low-income children. In order to be eligible for a baby bond, a child must be born in Nevada on or after January 1st, 2024, and their birth must be covered by Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program. To that end, Section 9 requires the Department of Health and Human Services to notice the Treasurer's Office upon the birth of a designated beneficiary. Once DHHS notifies our office, we will then invest $3,200 in the trust fund on behalf of the child, probably once a year, right? So all the babies once a year, and then we'll go forward. These funds will then be invested over the life of the child until they reach 18. Using a conservative investment benchmark of 6.9%, which is what's currently being used by the state of Connecticut for their program, the assets will grow to $10,635 over 18 years. However, if we peg the investment return to what we've seen in the 2022 investment returns of the Nevada Public Employee Retirement System, or PERS, we could see interest earnings up to 8.5%. I'll remind everyone 2022 had a couple of bad months in it. That would bring the assets into a child's baby bonds to $13,895 over 18 years. Once a child reaches 18 up to age 30, they will have the opportunity to claim the funds that have grown in their baby bonds. If a family does not wish to claim the funds, they do not have to, and it will stay within the trust to fund other children. To ensure that people don't relocate to another state and then move back to Nevada just to claim these funds, we have put a requirement that an individual be a Nevada resident for at least 12 months prior to being able to submit a claim for their bond. Additionally, we put guardrails on this program to require that all eligible beneficiaries can only use the funds in their baby bond for a defined purpose. These include post-secondary education, including vocational education and apprenticeship readiness programs, the purchase of a home, to start or purchase a business, and to invest in financial assets or personal capital that provides a long-term gain to the designated beneficiary's wages or wealth. And the goal for that last one is to provide enough flexibility because while we'd like to think ourselves as pretty good forecasters, we don't know what the opportunities are going to be in 18 years. To make sure that Nevada families understand and know that these dollars are being saved on behalf of their child, Section 10 of the bill requires the Treasury to send an annual statement to each beneficiary that shows how much money they are eligible to receive, along with the projected growth in their baby bond. Additionally, this annual statement will also contain resources and information on financial literacy programs to help the beneficiary prepare themselves in advance of accessing their baby bonds funds. We've also found there's a lot of value in these communications to offer wraparound services, right? So we know that there is value in if an individual is on Medicaid, to making sure they're also signed up for SNAP, to making sure that we check that their unclaimed property is there, to make sure that they've claimed their Nevada Kickstart account, et cetera, right? These are dollars that are out there, a lot of times not funded by the state of Nevada, that we can help people get access to. And that goes to Assemblyman De Silva's question. Some of that money is not going to flow through the state. It can flow directly to the recipient. As we've seen with other programs currently in the Treasurer's Office, preserving access to Medicaid and other means-tested benefits is critically important as we establish savings vehicles for low-income individuals. That's why Section 11 states that any monies in the Baby Bonds Trust Fund must not be used to calculate the personal assets of a designated beneficiary for determining eligibility for any disability, medical, or health benefit program administered by this state, along with any student loan program or other financial aid program. Section 12 of the bill provides safeguards around the funds in the trust to ensure that they are invested properly and effectively. Additionally, the section gives our office the ability to contract with various entities for the management and oversight of this program. Section 13 provides that all information about a designated beneficiary is required to remain confidential, except under limited circumstances necessary for program administration. Section 14 of the bill gives the Treasurer regulatory authority to adopt any regulations necessary to administer this program. And Section 16 would appropriate $80 million from the State General Fund to cover the cost of establishing the Baby Bonds program for children born over the next 2 years. Thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 28. I'm happy to answer any questions that members of the committee might have.
Members, any questions? So I see Assemblywoman Thomas, and then I'm going to go to Assemblyman Koenig.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Treasurer Koenig. I appreciate the detailed information that you've provided. But one of my biggest questions, I guess, that I'm concerned with the trust fund, I believe you stated that a person can receive this trust at the age of 18, minimum and maximum 30 years. So within that time period, and with the investment that our state has been providing, is the maximum on the return just $13,895?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, no, the maximum on the return is how much we're able to earn from investment returns over the period of the time between when the dollars are invested and 18. For administration of the program, we assume that most funds will be taken out when an individual is 18 as opposed to, say, 25, right? We wanted to create some additional flexibility there. But the dollars will continue to grow from age 0 to age 18, and they'll grow in a cohort, right? So from an ease of administration perspective, we're not expecting to have a separate individually managed investment account for each kiddo. We will have one large investment account for each cohort, right? Basically each year of children, which will continue to grow over that time. Individuals may leave the program because they leave the state or for other reasons, and that will, again, those dollars will then get redistributed amongst members of the class or the cohort.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Koenig.
Assemblyman Koenig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is really similar. So there's no benefit for waiting until you're age 30. If you wait till age 30, you're still getting the exact same amount as if you took it out at 18. You're not still accruing more benefit by waiting until age of 30.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, thank you for the question, Assemblyman. That's been a relatively robust amount of conversation in our office. We think from an administrative perspective, cutting it at 18 and then allowing those dollars to sit there but not continue to grow for that beneficiary will be the most effective and also the most fair.
Quick follow-up. So if they don't take it till age 30, the state will have that money and will be benefiting from them waiting, actually. It accrues more interest or it grows. The fund would grow, but they wouldn't, the value to the baby bonds wouldn't increase.
Treasurer Conine, for the record. So similar to how it works in prepaid tuition, right, where there's a defined benefit at the end of this program, dollars that were generated through investments on those dollars after the child turned 18 or after the person became 18 would then revert back to the trust. And so they would make the trust more whole and then theoretically decrease the ongoing cost in the future.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cecilia Gonzalez, District 16 for the record. Good morning. Definitely feeling all the good vibes this morning. So I am not a finance person, so I just have a couple questions to understand. You stated that they would lose the fund if, say, they move. So does that mean that we're tracking these kids, and if so, how? You mentioned Kentucky. Are there other states that allow this, or that we can compare to maybe in the West? Also, what is the estimated annual number that will be going into these accounts every year? I know you stated like how many kids are on Medicaid each year, but I'm curious what it's going to cost the state. And then I don't know if you mentioned it, but where is this money coming from? And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Treasurer Conine, for the record. No, we are not planning on tracking babies. The intention would be when they come back to apply for the funds, they have to show proof of residency in Nevada for the year forward, right? So want to be very cautious and cognizant of our military population, our transient population, individuals who move in and out of state, but similar to state tuition at our UNR or UNLV, wanted to make sure that there was a functionality to allow someone to come back to Nevada and stay here. Some other states that do this, Connecticut, California, and Washington, all have programs that we model this off of, Connecticut specifically. And as far as the money, we think it'll cost around $40 million a year. That number could go up or down, both from an investment return perspective in the future, also the size of the population, right? I mean, sort of by definition, the goal here is to decrease the size of the population, at least as a percentage of the state's population over time. And the other question, of course, is an actuarial one, right? Some percentage of individuals who receive this will not claim it at 18. And so we're working with other states and with our own internal financial modeling, but also financial modeling of think tanks to try to understand how many people actually get to the end of this program. Because, of course, we don't need to put in money for individuals who aren't going to be there. We do a similar process in College Kickstart. So College Kickstart, right, $50 for every public school kindergartner in the state. They don't all claim it for a series of reasons. And so because of that, that fund is now self-promulgating. It pays for itself. We don't need to put additional money into it every year. And as far as where we get the money from, currently intended to be a general fund transfer. We have a relatively large surplus right now. Our investments team brings in around $100 million in the trailing 12-month period. And we think that when it comes to investments, right, the opportunity for us to take generations of folks and move them out of generational poverty is one of the best investments we can make as a state. As I mentioned, we spend more than the cost of this program in SNAP benefits every month.
Thank you so much, Treasurer. And then my last question. In Section 13, when it talked about Section 13, subsection 2, the state treasurer may only disclose information made confidential. Or I guess just the whole Section 13, what are examples where the office would disclose this information and to whom? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman. Eric Jimenez with the Treasurer's Office. For the record, this information would only be shared with a program manager. So much like we run some of our college savings program, our Nevada Able savings program, those are managed by the Treasurer's Office as the fiduciary of the plan, but oftentimes there is a record keeper or program manager that has access to the accounts, can help with customer service, those sorts of things. So that sort of data sharing agreement only for that purpose for the program manager is what we're talking about here.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, Ms. Treasurer, thank you very much. A question, this would begin with a $3,200 transfer from some surplus money you're generating, which is fantastic. But my question is, how did you land on $3,200?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, we're happy to go bigger.
Okay, great. Wasn't my question, but great.
We looked at other states and what they're doing, and wanted to create an amount of money. And I've had this conversation with a number of you, and I appreciate it. Wanted to create a number that was meaningful at the end of the process, but still possible. Right, $10,000 goes a long way when you're starting. I've started a small business, and many of you have started small businesses. That initial little bit, $10,000 goes a long way. When it comes to purchasing a home, $10,000 is enough to get a lot of the ways towards a down payment for an FHA subsidized mortgage. Right, assuming you're only putting 3% down, it's a big number, right? $10,000 is also a lot when it comes to stacking with additional dollars that are available for higher education, right? So if you've got Pell Grants, but you're still having trouble taking into account the amount of time that you're going to have to spend on childcare, the amount of time that money you'll have to spend on transportation, right? It helps to bridge that gap. So we wanted to come up with something that was certainly expensive, but we think rational compared to the size of the program and the size of the benefit.
Thank you, Treasurer Conine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblyman Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I'm assuming that you've done some sort of a backward study to figure out how many babies were born under Medicaid over the past 5, 10, 100 years to project out how much money you're going to need. What are you projecting for the biennium for babies that are going to be born under Medicaid and fall under this program?
Approximately $80 million for the biennium. It's about $40 million a year.
Right, my question is how many children?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you for the question, Assemblyman Eric Jimenez, for the record. So we've done a historical model of 10 years of children that are born, the number that are on Medicaid, and then we've used data from the state demographer using population estimates. I would note that birth rates are declining even as population is growing, but using a stable birth rate, we expect that there will be about 15,000 kids each year of the biennium that would be covered by Medicaid and under this program. Now, not all of those would claim, so there's an actuarial discussion that we should have, but that's the estimate.
Thank you, because my math, the 80 million would cover 25,000. Wait, 25,000? Hang on, I forgot. I'm not a mathematician.
Treasurer Conine,
Yeah, 25,000.
the delta between the covered amount and the number of folks is sort of our actuarial assumption on how many would claim and would get to the end of this process, right? Transitory population, et cetera.
May I have a quick follow-up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So let's say that this goes through and everybody gets approved and everybody's happy and vibes are good. 18 years from now, when the very first person is eligible to cash in on this, with interest rates being what they have been over the past 20 years, what is $10,000 going to do for anybody?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, I think it's a fair question, although I think if we look at interest rates over any period of time, right, there are ebbs and flows. And generally, while they might provide a barrier to home ownership at one specific time, perhaps a higher interest rate environment is a better time for that individual to go to school, right, if they choose to use it for that. We think $10,000 is significant, right? When I was starting a small business and we had no capital, but the capital we were able to get from our credit cards, that $10,000 would have made a ton of difference to me. $10,000 makes a ton of difference to students who are on Pell Grants, taking advantage of the Millennium Scholarship or other things. From an educational perspective. And then when it comes to buying a home, $10,000 is enough to purchase a home using it as a down payment, that 3% down payment, right? That's a $300,000 home, which again, if we are able to continue building the sort of affordable housing that is on our plate with the State Infrastructure Bank and other tools, we think is going to be out there. With all that said, could it be more? It absolutely could be more. But we think that $10,000 will help. The other benefit of this program I should mention is that it's not just about the amount of money. As we've seen with College Kickstart, which is only a $50 program, right? And $50 growing over between the time the child is in kindergarten and go to college, that's often $58, right? $62. Simply knowing that someone is saving for their future changes behaviors. It makes that kid a better student on the margins. It makes that kid think more that, hey, someone's doing something good for me. Maybe I should do something for myself. We think it increases performance. At least it's been shown to in the Kickstart program. And so we're hopeful that a program like this would lead to more people planning to purchase a home, more people planning to go to college or achieve higher education, to plan to start a business, knowing that there's some funding out there, right? And especially in the business universe, that first dollar funding is so hard to get. Can't go to SBA, very hard to get a bank loan, et cetera.
Thank you very much.
Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, thank you again, Mr. Treasurer. I keep messing that up. And I'm feeling the vibes, too. I'm definitely feeling the vibes this morning. Two real quick questions. One is, my question is this: is there an age cap as to when a beneficiary can remove the funds from this program? And then secondly, you also did mention some miscellaneous sort of arenas of spending. Is it possible for a beneficiary now to take this, this funding that they will be receiving and then roll that over into another long-term sort of investments to come out of like a Roth IRA or a TDF, target date fund, something like that? Thank you.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, to your first question, funds are available when the individual is 18 and must be claimed by the time that they're 30. As to your second question, that fourth category is intended to be pretty broad so that we can work through the regulatory process and make sure that other options are there. I think that if an individual was in a place where they didn't need anything else, that putting it into a retirement savings could make sense. But we think for the most part, individuals who would qualify for this program likely have more pressing sort of short-term needs, right? Whether it be their from a housing perspective or starting a business or educational that we think the money would go for. But the intention of that fourth bucket is to allow for over time as things become possible for us to make sure that the program can grow with the state. Of course.
Assemblyman Gurr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Thanks for the presentation. It was eye-opening. I have a question, though. You got to start the fund in '24? Is that correct?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, yeah, the first cohort of kiddos would be post-24.
You have 18 years of that fund growing. Can the state leverage that against anything else? Use that funding, use that building to leverage for other benefits?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, and I appreciate the question because we often do that, right? We'll have funding in one category that will grow until it's spent and we'll spend it somewhere else. For instance, the ARPA dollars that have come in, we've been able to invest those in between the time that we receive them and the time that they're going to go out the door, and that'll create hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment returns for Nevadans. The goal of any of our trust-based funds, be it the Millennium Scholarship Trust Fund, the Prepaid Trust Fund, this trust fund, is for the dollars to exist within their own sandbox. And so those dollars are coming in, they're being invested in for the children. They're then growing over the life. And the growth then makes that fund more secure, right? So that if there was a time in the future where the assets put off by the fund, that group, right, from 18 to 30 that hasn't claimed, or individuals who have left the state or transient, if we are wrong on the actuarial to the side where fewer people are taking it than we expected, then those dollars can make the trust more effective and more solvent, which then allows us to keep the amount that we're putting in down. As an example, in the prepaid tuition fund, right, which is the fund where individuals give us money at a young age for the child, and then we invest that money, and then we pay for 4 or 2 or 1 year of college on the other side. We've just been knocking the cover off the ball from an investment perspective. And that has allowed us to keep, even as college costs rise, that's allowed us to keep the cost of the program the same for new participants, right? So we don't have to keep making it more expensive. And the comparative in this sense would be allowing us to not continue raising the cost of the program from a general fund perspective every year because the investment returns are helping to cover part of that cost, right? Helping to defray it.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I I know that the 3,200, I know there could be more, Mr. Treasurer, but my question is in terms of longevity. So we are thinking 3,200 now. In fact, something that is 10 years, 20 years ago, the amount, doesn't mean or value the same. Were there any thoughts in the language to look at adjusting it based on a certain formula that would increase the amount? Because, like 20 years later, do we go back to this body and say, hey, we need to raise the money? Or is there language in the statute already to kind of adjust as we go?
Treasurer Conan, for the record, I'm looking to the right to make sure that there isn't language in the statute. Say, okay, the right. Wanted to make sure that was the case before I said this. We think it's important for the legislative body to be able to have another bite at the apple when we need to raise this, right? As we've seen with a lot of other programs, when we have sort of cost of living increases or inflation-based increases, that number can quickly spiral to a number where we have an entitlement program that is sort of unfunded. Right? And so our goal here is to put a static number in there. If at some point we get to a hyperinflation environment or something else where $3,200 doesn't spend like it used to, then I expect someone in my role will be coming back to this body to talk about that, right? But we wanted to make sure that we didn't create basically a statutory conveyor belt that would put it into a place where it shouldn't be.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Members, any additional questions? I will just kind of leave a comment here and something that I would like to look at before we bring this bill up for a work session. I would like to make sure that the right guardrails are in place regarding how the funds are used. I mean, I understand, I think using it for higher education or apprenticeship programs is phenomenal. I think that using those funds for buying a house would be great, but when we look at small businesses, and while I think that's a good use of the funds, I want to make sure that the appropriate guardrails are there to ensure that individual is also set up to succeed, and that there's not an abuse of that. Because I could see in 25 years we have individuals going out and purposely recruiting individuals that are eligible for this program to use the funds in a way that they're going to be able to get the funds and acquire those, and that individual is left having spent thousands of dollars without a true investment in their life. So I just want to make sure that the appropriate guardrails are in place for that. And of course, making sure that the funds can get to the individual is of course a key concern. But I know that we can continue to have these conversations offline, and I'm happy to continue to do so. I don't believe there's any other questions for the committee, so I think we can go ahead and invite those up for support. Thank you, Treasurer. So we will hear testimony in support of AB 28. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. We'll go ahead and start here with Carson City, and then we'll move to Las Vegas and then over the phone. All right, begin whenever you're ready, Ms. Magnus.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We are here today in strong support of AB 28. I believe this is a smart and creative way to help our young people across the state get ahead. I want to share a personal story today. I am a proud recipient of the Millennium Scholarship, but as many of you know, that does not pay for all of your college tuition bills and the cost of books and other needs that you have while you're in college. I graduated in 5 years while also taking time to do an internship here at the Nevada Legislature that started my career. Thanks to my parents and their smart decisions, every Christmas and birthday, I would get savings bonds from my relatives. Now, as you can imagine, as a young person, I was rather irritated that I could not spend that money, but as an adult with zero student loan debt and the ability to purchase a home at 26, I was thrilled. I did not have access to these funds until I turned 18. I paid for my schooling and the down payment on our home so that we could get ahead. Now for a very different story. My husband, Nick, was born in rural Montana. He was poor, and his family often needed government assistance when he was young. He also qualified for the Millennium Scholarship, but it took him almost 9 years to graduate because he would have to take every other semester off to be able to pay for all the extras that college required. He had no savings or savings bonds, like many young people in our state. This is the difference. This is why a program like this makes sense. All people in Nevada deserve a leg up like I had, and we must do everything we can to end generational poverty. Please pass this critical bill. It will go a long way for our future. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Lilith Barron. I'm the policy manager for the ACLU of Nevada. The American dream is rooted...
I apologize. If I could just remind you to please make sure you spell your name for the record as well.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Lilithbaran. The American dream is rooted in the idea of upward mobility, the idea that if you work hard, you will climb the economic ladder, but being born into poverty too often determines what the rest of your life will look like. And for kids and your kids and generations after. When babies grow up in poverty, opportunities are limited and they start out on an uneven playing field as young as adults. And as young adults. But comparison as a young adult born into wealth will likely get assistance paying for college or buying their first home. But someone born into poverty starts from zero or negative. This means they are more likely to take on a student loan and bad debt, making it harder for them to become financially stable and build wealth when they become adults. Because wealth is largely passed down from one generation to the next, when young adults start out on an uneven playing field, often the next generation of their families lack wealth too. States can grant their citizens the tools to succeed and to ensure that they have an equal opportunity to thrive. Unfortunately, the state of Nevada ranks 47th in the 2021 U.S. News Opportunity Rankings, which examines the state's affordability, economic opportunity, and equality measures. A statewide baby bonds program can help narrow gaps in educational achievement, homeownership, and entrepreneurship for young Nevadans born in poverty across the state. The Nevada Baby Bonds program is a critical investment in the future of Nevada. By making this investment now, babies born into poverty in Nevada will have less obstacles to wealth building opportunities than their parents and greater opportunities at achieving prosperity. Additionally, our state's economy will grow and be able to save on future costs when they use these funds, which can only be used in Nevada to buy a home, get a higher education degree, or start a business. Let's give our children the tools to succeed and support this measure today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Chairwoman Torres and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Susie Martinez, SUSIE-MARTINEZ. I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada State AFL-CIO. And on behalf of over 150,000 members and over 120 unions, the Nevada State AFL is in full support of Assembly Bill 28. It's a piece of legislation that would establish the Nevada Baby Bond Program. It is no secret that due to wealth gap in our state and across the country is growing at an alarming rate, and that many of our working families are struggling. When a family already needs to stretch the dollars they earn to simply put food on the table and provide their children basic necessities, they don't necessarily have the resources to think about the long-term future. Around 44% of infants born in Nevada every year are on Medicaid. Just imagine how many lives this proposed baby bonds program could put on a better financial track for these individuals. We need this program so that the American dream isn't just a dream, but a reality for every single child. That's why it's critical that our legislatures overwhelmingly pass Assembly Bill 28 and ensure that we can break the cycle of generational poverty in Nevada. I'd like to thank Treasurer Conan for bringing this bill forward. I would also like to say that I was one of those individuals who purchased the savings bonds for my daughter. And the other day she says to me, "Mom, I need $10,000 so I can finish paying this next year." I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot we do have your savings bonds. Handed her stack. We called Zach because we needed to know how to cash them. And you know what? Yeah, it's true, we did. And so these things make a big difference. She will now hopefully be able to graduate with not having a big amount of debt. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, committee.
Thank you, and good to have you back in government affairs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the rest of the members of the committee. Happy Fat Tuesday to you all. My name is Vince Saavedra, for the record. Vince, V-I-N-C-E, Saavedra, S-A-A-V-E-D-R-A, and I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer to the Southern Nevada Building Trades Unions. I represent multiple construction crafts in Southern Nevada. We are in full support of this bill for many reasons. One, specifically, it falls in line with what Southern Nevada Building Trades is working on in the South, which is uplifting underserved communities and creating generational change. We're trying to do that with union apprenticeship jobs, and what Zach here is doing the same thing, and that's why we're in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tess Opferman. That's TESSOPFERMAN. I am here this morning on behalf of the Human Services Network and the National Association of Social Workers. The HSN is an organization of human services providers in northern and rural Nevada. Our nearly 50 member organizations include healthcare and mental health providers, school districts, and those addressing food insecurity, senior and disability issues, reproductive rights, and more. The National Association of Social Workers is the largest membership organization of professional social workers in the world and works to advance sound social policies. Both organizations are in full support of AB 28, which aids marginalized populations by giving our Nevada children a financial foundation on which to enter into adulthood. Our members work with low-income families and children by helping to provide them critical resources. This investment will not only directly benefit low-income populations, but it will also benefit Nevada as a whole by helping to address a cycle of generational poverty. Giving young adults the opportunity to further their education, purchase a home, or start a business will give them a much-needed step up to living a financially stable life. We are very grateful to Treasurer Conine for his hard work on this bill and for his work directly challenging systems that continue to hold families in cycles of poverty. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and we urge your support of this bill.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paul Cathan. I represent the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. I am here to talk about the bill, but first I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the Treasurer for making me $7.36 richer today as a result of my unclaimed property request submitted during this meeting. As a beneficiary of Nevada's prepaid tuition program, I can also attest that the vibes are indeed very good. As one of the largest organizations of parents in Nevada, the Culinary Union supports Assembly Bill 28 because it's a major step towards creating a more economically just Nevada. Unfortunately, Nevada has one of the most unequal distributions of income in the nation, and frankly has a history of failing poor children. Far too many children in Nevada are faced with nearly insurmountable economic obstacles. Assembly Bill 28 is an important step in correcting this and ensuring that Nevada cares for those who need it most. The Culinary Union applauds Treasurer Conine for bringing this bill forward and urges the committee to support and pass AB 28. Thank you.
Go ahead, in Carson City, next person.
Thank you. My name is Edward Goodrich. I'm the political director of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Local 363, based in Reno. Because of the recent pandemic, our local union also recognizes the importance of Assembly Bill 28, proposed by the State Treasurer's Office, and a head start it would give to young people, Nevadans, in boosting their creative industries and providing an economic advantage that will eventually redeem its cost in Nevada, gaining a healthier and more productive economy, resulting in better tax revenue. This bill presents economically disadvantaged young people with goals. It's a tool to improve their lives, advance their goals, and some will use this as a springboard to become more educated and skilled within this increasingly technologically advanced society. We view this as an investment to foster more productive citizens and help propel Nevada toward the forefront of technological and creative leadership. We're a union that began in the horse and buggy days, before the automobile was a reality. We have risen to represent the forefront and cutting edge of technological innovation within the entertainment industry. This, in part, has been accomplished by supporting education and a fair chance to get ahead. AB 28 helps Nevada's youth approach this goal of a fair chance. I have one number for you folks. 1. All it's going to take is one person of these graduating classes or one person receiving this assistance to start a business to get the revenue to entirely pay the cost of the whole class of your total investment. As simple as that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Rob Benner, ROB-BENNER, Secretary Treasurer for the Northern Nevada Building Trades. We stand in support of this bill. We appreciate Treasurer Conine adding the apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship language to this bill. We feel that this aligns with our goals of raising people up out of poverty. We work closely with Children's Cabinet, Washington County School District, and other organizations in the north to make sure that we are putting kids that need a step up into our programs. Our programs are transformational. Once an individual enters our program, if they are living in poverty, it takes them about 6 months to raise to get themselves out in one of our apprenticeship programs. So, thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairwoman Torres and committee members. My name is Carissa Pierce, CARISSAPEARCE, and I am the Health Policy Manager with Children's Advocacy Alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I am here in support of Assembly Bill 28, establishing the Baby Bonds Program. This program is an innovative, prevention-oriented approach to breaking the cycle of poverty that demonstrates a commitment to the future of our state, and it will change the lives of tens of thousands of children in Nevada. This bill gives children born into poverty the opportunity and support they need to launch and establish successful futures. Passing this Baby Bonds program will offer a financial foundation for the most marginalized Nevadans as they transition into adulthood. In short, this is an investment in our future, giving Nevadans the financial resources to begin adulthood with a solid foundation. We are committed to supporting the implementation of this program such that all children born into poverty are eligible and able to benefit from this incredible opportunity. This program will have a monumental impact on Nevada's working families, and we have an opportunity today to change the narrative for our most underserved and vulnerable populations. I ask you to consider these children not as numbers that create Medicaid statistics, but as children you see playing together at school, working on science projects, and pursuing their passions in sports and musical theater. With this bond program, our hope is that these children will be the last in their family to need this bond, as they will be able to leverage this investment into a stronger financial future. I ask that you consider passing this bill for the future of Nevada and the thousands of children that will be positively impacted by your decision today. On behalf of Children's Advocacy Alliance, we support AB 28. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Torres and committee members. My name is Eric Chang. Sorry, ERICJENG. I am the Acting Executive Director for One API in Nevada and also Director of Outreach for the Asian Community Development Council. We're here in total support of AB 28. Nevada is home to over 380,000 Asian Pacific Islander Americans, comprising around 12% of the total population. Out of these 12% fall below the poverty line. Our organization provides the community with critical resources and services, including health navigators and service navigators that assist under-resourced families across Nevada to access Nevada HealthLink, including Medicaid enrollment, as well as SNAP benefits. As the fastest growing community in Nevada, we are aware that the resources and infrastructure to support the community in tangible ways is lacking and lagging. Treasurer Connine's proposal for baby bonds is such much needed and also innovative and equitable way to address generational poverty and wealth gap. Also shout out to the Treasurer's Office with Eric and the whole team that continue to do amazing community outreach, from scholarship to small business for pets, all for pets for small businesses. Sorry, that's actually pretty funny. According to analytics provided by the DHHS for DWSS, Nevada babies enrolled in Medicaid at the time of birth, Asian Pacific Islanders only have about 800, which is disproportionately hovering around 3 to 4%. We believe it is due to community members that are uninsured and underinsured, and thus undercount the true scale of under-resourced family with new infants. Our community is not a monolith. The modern minority myth is only for a myth. However, we can keep the American dream a real dream and reality. According to Pew Research, Asian community has the widest income disparity among any ethnic and racial group. So this is a critical step, and we believe that it's a great way to reach equity and sustainability for our state and show our prioritize our families. So thank you, and urge your support for AB 28.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christine Saunders. That's CHRISTINESAUNDERS, and I'm the Policy Director with the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada. First, we want to thank the Treasurer for bringing forward this important piece of legislation. This proposal will help Nevada children make tremendous strides in their futures and is a strong investment that we can make for the state. I will just echo the sentiments of all of my previous speakers and urge your support of AB 28. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in support of AB 28 here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? When you're ready in Las Vegas, go ahead and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Phyllis Gergovich, PHYLLIS-GURGEVICH. For the record, I am with Nevada Bankers Association. Our members have been supportive through the years of Nevada's commitment to financial literacy and financial education. We've supported this as Nevada developed and legislators created the Nevada Financial Literacy Advisory Council, as you all created legislation that requires financial education training in our schools, grades 3 through 12. And we've worked with various organizations throughout the state on financial education, financial stability projects with community organizations. This program could really remove the roadblock that's created by a lack of funds. The concept of infusing this capital into a young person's life at the critical juncture can have far-reaching positive impacts from getting that education and training that provide for higher earnings, or for buying a home that's going to build in equity, or opening a business, making an investment that will have a positive financial impact on their future. So we are supportive of this concept, and we thank Treasurer Conine, Eric, and the rest of the team for bringing it forward. And thank you, Madam Chair and committee, for the time to comment.
Thank you, Ms. Gergovich. And for those of you that don't know Ms. Gergovich, she really is a leader in our community, and she does a lot to support our students and to support our community. She's on multiple boards, so thanks for all you do. Is there anybody else here in Las Vegas? BPS, is there anybody wishing to testify in support of AB 28?
To testify in support of AB 28, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, press *9. Caller, you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brianna Escamilla, BRIANNA ESCAMILLA for the record, and I'm calling in on behalf of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. We are strongly in support of AB 28 and thank Treasurer Conine for bringing this forward. And then for the sake of time, we will just say that we echo the sentiments of all of our partners who have already testified in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Escamilla. Is there anybody else on the line, BPS?
Yes, Chair. One moment, please.
Hello, this is Alejandra Montoya Boyer. I am the Policy Director at Prosperity Now. And for the sake of time, I just want to make everyone aware of our support of Assembly Bill 28 and echo the sentiments of our state partners in Nevada.
And Chair, we have no additional callers for support at this time.
Thank you. I'll now invite those wishing to testify in opposition to AB 28. Here in Carson City, I don't see anyone. In Las Vegas, I don't see anyone. BPS, is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 28 on the phone?
To testify in opposition of AB 28, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in opposition, please press *9.
Good morning. Cyrus Ojadi, Cyrus Hojjaty. I would wish that this bill would address why poverty and underperformance is such a huge concern. Is it the demographic? Is it poor family programs? What is it exactly? And by the way, we've had many programs for the last
And I'm sorry, Mr. Hojjaty, could you please spell your name for the record?
Cyrus Hojjaty. I think I've done it before. And in fact, talk about how this is going to create demand for products such as cars and houses. Well, isn't that contrary to climate change? I think upward mobility can be done by a number of different ways. My family had some serious financial struggles. I was able to get financial education, invest in the stock market, and I've succeeded in the last 12 years. And I do believe upward mobility is important. And I do believe inequality, income inequality, is the most important issue that our country and around the world faces. However, what we should be really doing is trying to cap CEO pay. The CEO pay, the ratio, the bottom to top, is very high, particularly in the casino hospitality industry. I wonder where's the culinary union on this issue. I read an article that many of the casino employees are heavily reliant on Medicaid. This is absolutely absurd. This is what we should be targeting. Now, I know there's a lot of upsides to the bill. However, there's a lot of red flags. So I would consider thinking twice. Yield my time.
Thank you. And is there anybody else in opposition? I do see somebody in Las Vegas, and I'll go to you in a moment, but is there anybody else on the phone, BPS, in opposition to AB 28?
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
All right, then we'll go to Las Vegas.
Marcos Lopez, Nevada Policy Research Institute. I submitted written testimony, so I will be brief, but we are concerned that this new entitlement will be too broad and cover too many people, especially when we look at the expansion that occurred to Medicaid 10 years ago under the Sandoval administration, as well as the fact that CHIP covers 200% of the poverty line. If we tally that out, that means that approximately 48% of Nevada households are currently eligible if this benefit were to take place today. And you can't really say that this is targeted to the most needy and the people who need it the most in poverty when 48% of Nevadan households will be covered under this. Secondly, it really ignores the fact that income mobility is something that is still very alive in our country. A recent CBO reporting shows that people, over 50% of people move up from the economic quintile in which they are currently born in or currently are in. So that means that over 18 years, it's really hard to forecast what economic quintile someone will be from where they were originally born. And lastly, we're also concerned about the possibility for fraud with this program. Nevada is uniquely bad at verifying the eligibility for entitlement programs. There was a Congressional Research Service report recently that pegged us as a #1 state when it comes to the highest rate of errors and fraud when it comes with SNAP benefits at 7.6%. And generally, Section 9, the personal capital provision, is extremely broad. That could cover a whole wide gambit of issues. But I did submit written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are ready now to move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone wishing to testify neutral here in Carson City? I don't see any in Las Vegas. I don't see any in Las Vegas. BPS, is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 28 over the phone?
To provide testimony in neutral for AB 28, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that is press *9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony in neutral at this time.
Thank you. I will invite the Treasurer's Office to provide any brief closing remarks.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, just want to thank everyone for taking the time to testify, both in support and in opposition. We'll read that, and obviously looking for ways that we can make the program better as we go. I'd just like to point out the work of two governors. About 21 years ago, Governor Gwynn set up a program which had some concerns about becoming an entitlement at the time, called the Governor Gwynn Millennium Scholarship, which to date has helped 160,000 Nevadans achieve higher education. It is one of the most effective merit-based scholarships in the country, and also point to the words of Governor Lombardo at the State of the State. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to plant the trees that none of us will still be, at least in the current offices that we're in, at the time that they grow. So thank you for the time and the consideration.
Thank you. At this time, I will close the hearing on AB 28, and I will open the hearing on AB 33, which revises provisions governing public investments, and was presented on behalf of the State Treasurer. So Treasurer Conine, when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Again, Treasurer Conine. Thank you so much for having us today to talk about AB 33, which is definitely the more exciting of the two bills that we have in front of you today. I'm joined in Grant Sawyer with Stephen Hale, our Deputy Treasurer in charge of investments, in case we have any questions. The Treasurer's primary role, as I've stated, is to serve as the state's Chief Investment Officer. Thanks to the tireless efforts of our small but dedicated team in our investment division, the Treasurer's Office works each and every day to create more opportunity for our state government. Since the 2019 legislative session, we have worked to modernize Nevada's investment statutes to provide the investment division with the tools that they need to maximize investment returns for the state, while also ensuring that we have adequate safeguards in place to mitigate potential risk. In short, our first job, as I've said, is not losing money. Our second job is not losing money. Our third job is preserving liquidity, and our fourth job, and it's a deep fourth, is making money on the behalf of the state. We do happen to be good at all of the jobs, returning hundreds of millions of dollars back into the state treasury since I've been in the job. Assembly Bill 33 continues on this work by providing the Treasurer's Office with additional flexibility for our investment vehicles, while also providing for parity among portfolio limits for certain types of investments in the general portfolio, the permanent school fund, and the local government investment pool. Again, as a reminder, the general portfolio is effectively the main investment account for the state. Think about it like the state's the main bank account when it is invested is the general portfolio. The permanent school fund is the endowment account for K through 12 education, and the local government investment pool is a very low-cost tool that we offer to our partners in local governments and school districts to give them opportunities to invest at scale. Chair, if you're all right, I will work through the bill.
Yes, please go ahead.
Perfect. Section 1 of the bill expands the list of authorized investments for money in the state's permanent school fund, or PSF, to include two additional vehicles. First, it allows money from the PSF to be invested in commercial paper that will mature in 270 days or less, is rated A1, P1, or better, and cannot exceed 10% of the total portfolio for the permanent school fund. In case anyone's not a fixed income investor, A1 and P1 are both credit ratings that mean that it is very likely that the investment is going to be paid back, right? So in long-term credit, you see the ABC rankings, right? So, C credit, less likely to be paid back, more expensive from an interest rate, but much higher risk. B, slightly better. A, slightly better than that. And then within the different rating agencies, there are typically segments within A. So A1, AA1, AAA, right? Or AAA, as it's almost always referred to. No one ever refers to it as AAA. The short-term version of that is the P system. So P1, 2, 3, 4, and that's for short-term credit. One of the things that you'll see is kind of a consistent piece along the line is we generally have a very short-dated portfolio. In other words, the average date of maturity for our portfolio is under a year. And so when you look at maturity dates, just to kind of talk about what we do, fixed income investing means you're purchasing you're giving someone money. In exchange, they're giving you a bond or a piece of commercial paper or a note, which is then paying a coupon or interest rate over the time that you own it. And then at the end is returning the principal of that thing. Most of these are what are considered non-negotiable. In other words, they can't pay you back before the time. There are certain things that we own in the mortgage-backed securities where they can refund or pay the bill down sooner, which changes our interest rate calculation. All right. And so we in the state are not generally buying paper when it is issued. We are buying paper that was issued some time ago. So a bond that was, say, issued 10 years ago, we will buy from someone else 60, 90, 10, 100 days before it is going to mature, which means we will then get back the principal, right? And so we are timing these purchases so the maturation dates are the date that we have to spend the money. So as an example, let's say we have some money right now and we know that we're going to have to send some money out, for instance, through the state education fund in 30 days. We will buy a piece of paper that will pay us back in the morning of the 30th day so that we can send the money out in the later morning of the 30th day. Right? Because when we do that, we're able to keep that money invested for those 30 days and theoretically generate a higher return than if we, say, got it back on the 25th day. This is the type of work we do in the Treasury. It's obviously very exciting, so I apologize if anyone's having a palpitation. Additionally, AB 33 allows money from the Permanent School Fund to be invested in notes, bonds, and other unconditional obligations, and again, that's unconditional, no early payback, that are issued by certain corporations organized and operating in the United States or depository institutions licensed by the United States. Again, these are companies based in the United States, banks based in the United States, offering this commercial paper. Section 2 of the bill increases from 20 to 25% the maximum share of the general portfolio can be invested in bankers' acceptances, which are effectively post-dated checks from banks, which are short-term issuances from a bank that guarantee payment at a later date. This is a tool that we use oftentimes when we don't see a great investment in the very, very short term, and so we are able to put money into these banker acceptances for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 days, generate a little bit of return, and then push it in. You might, if you're following what's happening at the Federal Reserve, and who isn't, if you're following what's happening at the Federal Reserve, you'll know that we've had a number of opportunities in the recent future in our shop. The investments team is happy when interest rates go up, and the debt team is sad when interest rates go up, and they feel vice versa. So our vibes sort of mellow out in the basement of the Capitol building, at least when it's not flooding. And so in this universe, sometimes we want to basically park money for a few days or a week or two in advance of a Fed meeting where the likelihood is that interest rates are going to rise. When interest rates rise from a Fed target rate, interest rates rise in the things that we can buy. And therefore, by putting money aside for just a little bit of time, we get the opportunity to generate a much larger return on the flip. Okay. Section 2 also authorizes money from the general portfolio to be invested in commercial paper issued by certain trusts or corporations who issue through a limited liability company. That's effectively a mechanic change. Section 3 of the bill is seeking to increase parity amongst the various investment vehicles managed by the Treasury. So we have a team led by Mr. Hale down there, which is 4 people who invest $9.3 billion on behalf of the state. So when we can make it a little bit easier for them, for instance, making sure that, say, the limits in 2 different portfolios that basically are invested in the same way are the same, we're trying to do it. Section 3 revises the authorized investments for the local government investment pool to require that investments in negotiable certificates of deposit, so again, negotiable certificates of deposit are basically jumbo CDs. Functionally, that means more than $100,000, but in our world, that usually means more than $1 million. So it's a certificate of deposit. We put more than $1 million on deposit in some institution, we get paid a rate of return, and then when that time period is done, we get it back. This would allow the local government investment pool to take advantage of these that must mature in less than 5 years. So again, a little bit farther out on the yield curve, but in CDs, that often gives us some additional opportunity, and have to be rated by a nationally recognized rating service as A1, P1, or better. The LGIP generally functions as a savings tool, right? So if, or an investment tool for smaller counties. So let's say Eureka County has $10 million that they're not going to be able to spend. They have no need to spend it for a year, right? They could go get a fixed income investor, but to invest $10 million within a fixed income portfolio and getting an investor who is going to do it well is expensive. Adding it to our $2 billion pool is not expensive. And so it's a service that we provide for the counties, and this will give them a little bit more flexibility in that. Section 3 also provides that not more than 5% of the local government investment pool may be invested in notes, bonds, or other unconditional obligations issued by any one commercial bank, insured credit union, savings and loan association, or savings bank. This is a mitigation tool, right? This is a don't keep all your eggs in one basket tool from a certificate of deposit standpoint. Now, we're investing in things that are incredibly high credit. The risk of default is very, very low, but we want to make sure that we don't have more than 5% of the assets in the local government investment pool in any one of those banks at any one time, right? Additionally, Section 3 increases from 20 to 25% the amount that local government investment pool can invest in bankers' acceptances of the kind of maturities made eligible for law for rediscount with Federal Reserve banks or trust companies which are members of the Federal Reserve System. I'm happy to explain how that works, but since we only have an hour or two and I'm already getting some glazed eyes, I will proceed. And finally, the bill seeks to expand the role of the Nevada Capital Investment Corporation, which many of you have heard I've been apparently illegally running out of the Capitol for quite some time. But in fact, NCIC is actually a state agency passed by the legislature in 2011. Broadly, Nevada Capital Investment Corporation, or NCIC, is the state's private equity or sovereign wealth vehicle. It allows for monies from the Permanent School Fund to serve as private equity capital invested directly into Nevada-based businesses that are engaged in healthcare, cybersecurity, defense, renewable energy, information technology, or other businesses that benefit the state. When Treasurer Marshall and then Treasurer Schwartz were running the NCIC, what the goal there was to provide additional returns to the returns that typically come from the Permanent School Fund, but and also provide for additional opportunity to help Nevada small businesses. Section 4 of the bill, just historically, NCIC returns, our private equity returns, have been more than double the returns of the Permanent School Fund, which also does well. So NCIC does well, so does Permanent School Fund, but this gives us a little bit more juice. Section 4 of the bill increases the amount that can be transferred from the NCIC to the Permanent School Fund from $75 million to $125 million, which expands on the work done in the 2021 session of the legislature. The way that this works is the NCIC is effectively a carve-out of the Permanent School Fund. So the Permanent School Fund, which is around $444 million, give or take today, has a carve-out, and we can invest up to 125 of that through the mechanic that is the Nevada Capital Investment Corporation. When these private equity returns pay back, and usually we're involved in them in a debt issuance piece of business, right? So they're paying us back interest or payments over time. Those payments, the principal goes back into the Permanent School Fund as it is an endowment for education. The earnings from NCIC are transferred to the State Education Fund, formerly the Distributed School Account, which is, again, the checking account for K through 12 education. Section 4 also provides additional flexibility for NCIC to encourage a greater level of investment in fund managers who have proven track records of investing in small businesses throughout the country. It accomplishes this by reducing from 70%, the threshold from 70% to 50% that must go to businesses directly in Nevada. So one of the things that we found as we work through this and we're looking at venture capitalists and others to invest in is there are not that many funds that are specifically in Nevada, but there are funds that are Western, and so they invest in Nevada, but they also invest in other states. Or there are funds that invest nationwide, but they can do a carve-out and do a specific fund that's more focused on Nevada. But to get to 70% investment in Nevada, we found to be a barrier of actually finding folks who know what they're doing at the scale that we need them to be doing it at. Number 2, Section 4 also allows for funds to be invested in pooled funds, which will allow us to take advantage of multi-state venture funds expressed interest in partnering with the state of Nevada to grow new and existing small businesses over the coming years. So this helps us with both the problem I just described, but also a bit of a chicken and egg thing. If we want to use the NCIC, and we do, to incent businesses to grow and move to Nevada, we need the flexibility to invest in them as they are on their way to moving in Nevada, as opposed to when they're already here. NCIC, if done correctly, will stack with existing small business funds like the SSBCI funds that are working for startup businesses, the work that Generator and others are doing on the incubator space, and then later on with the work that GoEd does on larger scale economic development. So the goal here is to create a bit of an ecosystem, right, where we can continue to keep these businesses in Nevada growing, hiring Nevadans at both fair and family sustaining wages. Overall, changes in Assembly Bill 33 help to modernize and improve Nevada's investment statutes by giving us new tools and increased flexibility to generate higher investment returns from the state. This concludes our presentation. Happy to take any questions, with a reminder that we do have everyone's unclaimed property when we finish, so, take your time.
Thank you, Treasurer. That was definitely some great vibes. But I do have a question, because I think you, Treasurer Conide, you are so skilled at your job that you can explain everything at a very high level. But I don't know that that was helpful to all the members of my committee. If you could just break it down, just like a quick, 5 sentences summary of this is what the bill does and how it impacts Nevadans or my office.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, I will give it a go. The two big sections of the bill. The one section of the bill creates some parity between our different functions. So we have individuals who invest money on behalf of the state who are doing the same job every day for different funds, and those different funds have different rules. And so they have to take off the hat that says 20% over here and replace it with the 25% hat, and that is generally inefficient. Also, because the goal of all of those funds is effectively the same thing, we have the same risk portfolio, we have the same tolerance for both for risk and for timeline. This is trying to standardize that. Thing number two that the bill does is it expands the functionality of the Nevada Capital Investment Corporation, which hopefully will lead to both continued returns for the Permanent School Fund and more jobs and businesses and therefore tax revenue in the state of Nevada.
Thank you. I think that was helpful. Committee members, any questions? Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you again, Mr. Treasurer, for your excellent presentation. Feeling the vibes, definitely, for sure. But quickly, this is a tangentially related question. So I know you mentioned that many of the state's sort of investments have been in more robust kind of investment schematas, treasury funds, treasury bonds, mortgage securities, so on and so forth. I was wondering, does the state invest in any more aggressive sort of approaches, or are we looking at investing solely in the more safer sort of investment schematas? Thank you.
Treasurer Conine, for the record, and while I'm sure my investments team would have a whole bunch of fun if we moved into equities, the state actually has a constitutional prohibition against investing directly into equities, so we don't own any stocks. And I think that's valuable, right? Because the work we do is, again, about preserving capital and then potentially finding some additional return in the future. But my real job is to make sure that the bills can be paid, right? And the farther away from risk you get, generally the lower the return is, right? There's not people willing to pay you to take less risk generally. And so we think we've got a pretty good middle ground between making sure that we are as risk adverse as we possibly can be, knowing that the money we invest is not our own, but is in fact all of yours and all of your constituents and all of my constituents, while still generating a fair amount of return that allow us to pay for programs, hopefully that make the state better in the long term.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Committee members, any additional questions? No, I think you did a really great job summarizing that bill for us. Thank you. At this time, I will go ahead and invite anybody wishing to testify in support of our Good Vibes Bill, AB 33. Please come up and testify here in Carson City. I believe that's a member of your office. I don't know that I see anybody in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support. Okay, BPS, is there anybody on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 33?
To testify in support of AB 33, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that is star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Is there anybody wishing to testify in opposition to AB 33 here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? BPS, is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 33 on the line?
Testify in opposition of AB 33, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 33 here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 33?
To testify in neutral of AB 33, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and invite the treasurer up for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for dealing with me and our quick talking over the last few hours. As a reminder, if time is money, I wanted to make sure we preserved as much of yours as possible. I do want to take a moment, if I could, just to thank our investments team, Deputy Hale, who's in the room, as well as Isabel, Ryan, and Edwin, who have been managing your money in COVID and out of COVID, in changing markets and in quiet markets, and have done a really admirable job. And so I wanted to thank them for that. I also wanted to make sure to invite each and every one of you, if you'd like to join us at 4:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, to do our investment work. You're happy to be there. We've made this offer for 2 years, or 2 sessions now. We've had one assembly person take us up on it, and he is now quite wealthy, just saying. And my last note is there are 11 of you with unclaimed property with a total value of around $11,300. There are one of you has unclaimed property of more than $3,000. And so I encourage you to go get it if it's yours. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, Treasurer. Always good to have you. At this time, we will go ahead and open it up for public comments. See if anybody wishing to testify in public comment here in Carson City, please come up, or in Las Vegas. Seeing none, BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify for public comment? As a reminder to the... I apologize, I have to go back a step real quickly and close. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing on AB 33. And once again, we'll go back to our agenda item, public comment. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in public comment?
To provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to provide public comment, press *9.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIEGRANT, for the record or not, I'm not really sure. Yesterday, February 20th, 2023, marked 19 years since 26-year-old William Billy Lomax was manhandled and tasered up to 10 times. The complaint states 7 times by LVMPD officer Reggie Radar. Billy's crime, acting strange. Security guards observed Billy while he removed and replaced his shirt several times, sweating, leaned his head on concrete barriers. In response to Billy's behavior, security guards requested LVMPD assistance in getting Billy medical care. Upon Radar's arrival at the scene, an alleged fight commenced between Billy and the security guards. Radar intervened and commanded Billy to comply or be tased. Subsequently, Radar tased Billy while the security guards held him in place. Radar tased Billy a total of 7 times. Of those 7 times, he tased Billy approximately 3 times while the guards handcuffed him and held Billy down, and approximately 4 more times after Billy was handcuffed and strapped to a medical gurney. Billy was the son, brother, father, and father to several young children at the time of his death. I can personally vouch that even though it may have been 19 years since Billy's death, the pain is just as palpable for his family as day one. Less than 6 months later, 47-year-old Keith Tucker would die at the hands of LVMPD and a taser. Police reform should be on everyone's agenda every single session, because the reality is police have not stopped killing community members in Nevada, and I don't want any more families joining this devastated club that none of us want to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there any more callers, BPS?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no additional callers at this time.
Thank you. Are there any additional remarks from committee members? All right, then I will go ahead and remind committee members that tomorrow we will have a presentation for the State Public Works Division, and we'll also be going over AB 8 and AB 79. We will be we will be back in 3143 tomorrow, so we will meet you all on the 3rd floor tomorrow morning. At this time, the meeting is adjourned.